I'm Anne-Marie.
Hi, and I'm Sonia.
We are here to guide you on your transformative journey where you will unlock the secrets to radiant living, conquer stress, and ignite your confidence and purpose.
Each episode is an invitation to redeem your essence, integrating ancient tradition and modern science.
Welcome to our podcast. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Infinite Essence podcast. In our last episode, we focused on the topic of fertility, and today we're continuing on a deeply personal and feminine inspiring note. Sonia, hi Sonia.
Hello, Anne.
Sonia has decided to share her own story of health transformation, one that we believe will resonate with so many of you. Her journey is a powerful example of what's possible when you take control of your health and well-being. Sonia will today walk us through the challenges she faced, the steps she took, and what truly worked for her. We hope her story will be a guiding light for you on your own path to transformation. Let's dive in. Sonia, can you tell us about the challenges you were facing before this transformation and how they were impacting your daily life?
Well, there's a long story, but the one I'm sharing today, I always struggle with the period pain and heavy pain periods, basically, since ever. In one hand, I always loved the period where I was having the period. In the other hand, I always thought that it was normal. I mean, having and having pain, but it was really always a struggle in a way that some days I could not even leave home. And on my 23, no, 20, yeah, after my 30s, early 30s, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. And then it was something that I never heard before. I really didn't talk much with others because, as I said, it was normal, right? And there began. At those time, I had already a quite good lifestyle. So I had made some changes already on my life, on my late 20s. That's when actually I changed my lifestyle. I left my other's life job. I had time for myself. I mean, I stopped eating meat. So at those time, I thought I really had like a good quality of life, which I had, but it really solved that. So I start my cure journey. I was living in UK at that time, and I think I went to the most amazing doctors, traditional medicine. And that's when I start also to look for holistic health. I think I've done everything by then. All the therapy that uh, I could get. And what I could tell now, I think it's pretty much resonates what I believe now, is that every person we cross in our lives, and even doctors, teachers, we always have something to learn. At one point, there was not one person who solved my problem, right? But all of them, they brought me something new. And we always have these things like someone will save me, and it's not what I had, because we all have health issues or something that we wish to get better, and we always go like, okay, I'm going, someone will save me, someone will solve my problem.
And at the end, it's not like that, or it could be like that. But if we don't go to the root, maybe this disease or this issue will come further in the future in other ways. And of course, it was not always like this, because as at some point, sometimes I had my frustrations, my times I wanted to give up because all the doctors want me to take me to the surgery. But that's my conclusion now. You know, everyone, even a book you read, a person you cross, a doctor you, even if you just go once, everyone, if you are open, everyone has something new to teach you. But it's you need to cure yourself. We are our own master, in a way that we really have to sometimes to it's an emotional process, it's a mental process, and it's time, it's patient, but really taking that responsibility. And yes, so and the trigger for this was, I got to one point that I didn't have any more options, truly. And I was getting worse. And I had some like strict decisions to take by then, because I was really low in terms of energy. And it was like this, or I had a surgery, or I had a surgery. And that's when I start to read some books that resonates with me. And then I decide just to try new things on myself. And it was not easy, because everyone, I mean, I didn't have really emotional support, like, because of course people were close to me, they just want me to see myself good, right? So I did a lot of things, we can talk about that, but it's just my experience. But at the end, I don't think that's exactly what you do, but how you manage. And on my as me and life works for me better in this way, I need to try and experience. And that's when you really take your responsibility to yourself and not to others. And it works. Yeah, of course, you need a lot of discipline, resilience, and time, but it worked for me. And now it's almost crazy, because for me, it's like, you know, everything you go through, when you go through the process afterwards, it seems easy. But every time I go to the doctor, my own doctor wanted to write my story, because the traditional medicine doesn't have the answer. Of course, it helped a lot, but more and more, I think whatever you have, it's more about looking to yourself, taking responsibility, look for help, see what works for you in an open mind, and having this multidiscipline, because sometimes it's not just one thing. Sometimes it's just is one doctor, but then is maybe you have to change your routine, maybe you have to change your sleep habits. And that's the thing, because it's so easy to go to the doctor and take a pill. But if I tell now you have to start to sleep 8 hours, something simple, sleep 8 hours, go to bed at 9, and I don't know, or go exercise yourself, or anything else. I mean, as I said, what worked for me, it doesn't have to work for you. It's just, but we really have to try to experience and see what it worked for us. And this is also responsibility, but together with self-compassion, because we need that, because the long-term results take time. of course, I had a lot of crises, a lot of downs, ups and downs, more downs than ups. And it was a 10 years process, more or less, right? Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Sonia. In what you shared, I understand that like your body started to talk to you in different ways. What I've seen is that when it comes to feminine issues like endometriosis and this kind of feminine challenges, it's usually not the only message that the body is sending. So I'm curious if you can share with us how today, looking back, you can understand that your body was speaking to you about all of this, like all of these different languages you can see today that maybe at the time you didn't see. And why do you think today, looking back, what do you think this showed up in your life? What was the message that your body wanted to give you?
Yeah, the body always speaks with us, right? In terms, maybe it starts with uncomfort and maybe pain, and then maybe a disease. And where I felt and special with all this process, and it's really there's no way to move forward into your feminine if you don't dig in. I mean, I think this is common for all human beings, of course. But as we are speaking with a system, an organ that is so connected with the feminine, it's all about, for me, that's what I felt, because it's not the biological organ. It's not that. It's all the cycle. It's all about being a woman. It's all about the creative process. So it's all about the process to know how your body works, how is your cycle. And could be with anything. Of course, we have a biological process, which is our period, which is like our season, like the nature has. If the nature didn't have the season, it will be all the same. So it's really an opportunity for us as a woman, no matter if you still have your period or not. Of course, it's not that. It's the context of looking inside and see how you feel in different phases, in different stages, and understanding your body. Really understanding in an intimate way, and also a really and there's no path to femininity if you don't look inside. In the other way, a process of self-love, because there's no other way to see the things and do the transformations if you don't love yourself. Starting with your body, starting when every time you change a habit, no matter how simple is this, is like you were telling yourself, your whole self, I love you. And the point is this, right? We will be able to love ourselves more and more every day. And we can't love ourselves if we don't know ourselves. How can I make something to love myself if I don't know what my body loves? So it's like this. It's the most romantic, pure relationship we have for our whole life. And sometimes, yes, the body screams, but is always communicating with us, always.
Amazing. And in your own story. So I understand that you came to a point where the doctor wasn't really giving you options. So maybe that's going to be your answer, but I wanted to understand what was that point in time that really made you change and start to make strong changes in terms of your habits, maybe your way of thinking about it, maybe your actions. What was that moment, if you remember it well, that made you begin this healing journey?
Yeah, I think the break point was exactly when the doctor told me that I should make an operation and remove my uterus, my ovaries, everything. And what made me not want it, in spite of everything tells me that there's the only way, was my intuition, was really stopping all the information I had around me. And there was some gut feeling that no, it's not from here. I don't know how. I have no idea how. I have no idea what, but I know this is not the answer. So yeah, it was exactly that.
Amazing. And tell us about those changes. We'd like to understand a bit what you changed. And maybe as we understand that, already from what you shared, you tried several different things, what do you think stood out?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've tried whatever was traditional medicine, but also therapy and so on. The things that change. So basically, I've changed habits, like start to have more time for myself, first of all, like trying to have less stress. And yes, I was teaching yoga, but yes, we still have a lot of stress. We just because we have the tools or we teach the tools doesn't mean that we don't we are always chill. This is a really bad stereotype. All the stereotypes are bad, but these ones I suffer a lot. So I was through like a lot of stress also with this. So I tried just to have more time for myself, and I stopped eating everything that I read that it was inflammatory for my body. Anything. I read about a Japanese doctor, and that by that time I started to do fasting. But that was 8 years ago. 8 years ago, no one spoke about intermittent fasting. So I started to do, and I was really disciplined about that. And then I've done a lot of therapy as well. But I think it was really simple new habits I've done. But of course, these simple habits require a lot of discipline because it's a daily routine. For example, in 3 months' time, I stopped having pain, which is really a big thing for someone who always struggle with the periods pain. And of course, then you notice because there was a lot of sports I couldn't do it because I have a strong anemia. A lot of things that come from this disease. Because of course your quality of life just go deep in the hole. And then I start to do things that I always love. Like I start to be able to run again. That for me was like a big thing. And the amazing thing is that when I start to speak about these things, a lot of people start to come into my life that had the same issue. Actually, friends that, because we haven't spoke about that, they said, oh, I had that. And then, oh, my mother had that, my grandmother had that, and she had the surgery, I mean, on the 30s. So it was actually, now I feel like there's so many people who came, and that's one thing I regret, to have spoken about that before, because we always need others to share and feeling the strength, because it was one thing I always felt very alone on this, because there was not a lot of information, and even now there isn't, and it's a long process. And even if it's of course your process is always by yourself, but when you know someone who've been through, or when you know someone who knows someone, you feel like you're not alone. And it's all about that, especially when it's anything you've been through, that it takes time. Yeah.
I think you have no idea how many women you're gonna inspire just sharing your story as
I don't know.
simple and and true as you're doing right now. So thank you for that, Sonia. Thank you for all of these women that will be listening to you and maybe get some insight, right, and start listening to themselves a bit more. You were speaking about those low moments, right? Sometimes it's not that easy. You talked about all of the physical changes you made, about food, about the actual things you could do with your body. I would like you to speak about the challenges that we usually feel, but inside our mind. So it's like those moments where you felt like giving up, maybe, or the question that we sometimes ask ourselves because we've heard all of our life that the doctor knows better, right? That's what we usually hear as children. So when we are in fear, or when we get preoccupied about our health, maybe we ask the question, shall I follow my intuition, or maybe I putting myself in a bad situation. So I would like you to talk to us about your thought process and how you managed to change your thought around all of that to overcome that fear and really focus on what you wanted for yourself more than what you were hearing that you should be doing, right?
It's not a straight line. If I go back in time and I really feel like I want to give up, and actually the lows were me giving up, right? Because even doing supposedly and taking medication, nothing really worked. I don't think there's a key, it's everyone has to have their own process, because sometimes even the days that you feel like nothing happens, you have to you have to have self-compassion, I think, and knowing that it could even stay there forever, because maybe some conditions you'll not be able to solve. That's not the thing, right? It's self-compassion and respecting where you are at that moment. Of course, that is me speaking now from the past, or seeing myself in the past. But if I want to share how I was by then, some days I was miserable. And I don't know, and I can't tell where it came up, like, no, I want to do this. So, it was a long process, right? So even when I've changed, it took time, even to get faith and trust, like will this going to work for me? So the point is, it's that, I mean, it's really have self-compassion about where we are, and and uh, and and bring this responsibility for, like, I am the only human being that is responsible to take care of myself. And that's where it comes the strength, where it comes the responsibility, not just to move forward, but for having self-compassion for the place you are on the moment, and be able to be humble, to ask help, and help is in any form. Sometimes is to have emotional support. When you have, imagine people around you that say, you're crazy, the doctor is saying that, you're not doing anything the doctor tells, and be humble, saying, I need you to trust me. I need you now to just accept that now I need to do my way. And there's a place of vulnerability as well. Asking help, or I need your help now. Because what I see now, it's people always say, oh, because doctors don't know anything. Oh, the medicine, the traditional medicine. No, for me. This is another way to take the responsibility for yourself. First of all, we need to have faith that every person we go through wants really to help you, especially a doctor, especially a therapist, right? What's the point? And we have to have faith and be open in a way that to receive the information you need to receive from that human being that is in front of you, without putting your whole life on it. But also, like, when there's something that you really don't want to follow, being open and humble and being vulnerable to say, I don't want to do that. Can you help me other ways? It happened at some point. Some doctors, one doctor told me, Sonia, if you don't do what I say, you will never have quality of life. And I told him, you need to help me the other way, because I don't want to go to that point. Everything, I mean, everything it comes new, even technology, they always have one person, one situation, one experience that it was the first one for at least one time, right? Even the discoveries, usually the biggest discoveries, they come by chance. There's not like, okay, now we go to the lab and let's try different options to see what it works. It's not. The thing is that we don't communicate, because I'm sure my story, it's happened, you know that, right? It's just because we don't communicate. And to communicate, we need to be in a place of being humble, being vulnerable, be really open to see the other options you have, because sometimes it's us that are close. It's not the other person that it's in the front of you. It's because you are close to receive any new information, and it comes up in a way that you are, no, it must be something there. And then it comes, of course, trust and faith.
Yeah, I've seen that in my own story as well, that when I started to open up, I understood that so many women had been through, were going through, or later went through something similar and they came to me and shared. I think there is so much we're going through by ourselves alone, as you were saying, because it's more and more common not to speak, maybe, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't like that before. That's why for sure we were not seeing all of these feminine challenges as mountains. Today we're seeing them like that because we feel it's us and the doctor, and we don't really speak to anybody around us. When if we shared, oh, just the way you're doing right now, you know, being raw and being true about your story, you're just sharing what happened to you, and maybe somebody that will listen to you, they will not take exactly the same decisions that you took, but you will be an inspiration. And we can be an inspiration, and we have no idea, just by sharing something that comes along in our life as a challenge, and sharing our fear, what we're doing, what has been said to us, or the decisions we took, what worked for us or not. We're just helping somebody, and we have no idea about that. When you said before, you know, nobody's gonna save us. Uh, the other day I heard somebody that said, and I quite liked it. It was in Portuguese, but I'm going to try to translate it. They said, you know, nobody's is in the lab trying to make up a solution right now to save you. And it's like, this is not how it works, right? The person that needs to create that solution, taking bits and pieces from everywhere, as you said, doctors have their place, obviously, right? We've needed them for many, many times in our lives, and they have their space. The thing is, you listened, and that's why I think it's your story is so inspiring, is you listened to many different doctors, you listened to many different therapists, you took what made sense to you, and you created your own recipe. It wasn't easy. You were not 100% sure it was going to work. You tried, you tested, you risked at some point, right? But it was what made sense to you, and you only asked people to trust you in your own decision, which is very, very courageous, because it's so easy to just do as we are told, because it's easier, not for ourselves, but for everybody around us, right? That's the thing. When you change, it's the other people around you that get uncomfortable. And sometimes we'd rather be uncomfortable our whole life than make other people uncomfortable and have the consequences of that, which is comments and, relationships change and everything. But I think it was so courageous of you to do that and to do what makes sense to you. Now, let's talk about the good part. So when you understand that your body was reacting to what you were doing, when you got the results of the analysis, and from the doctors, you heard that you were managing to revert all of this process. How was it for you? Tell us a bit about that part.
Mm. It was like I reborn again. I start to do things that I used to do in my 20s. I felt like with more energy than I was, like I didn't know where it come from. I mean, it was actually what I had was the best thing I had, because it was the way I changed my life for good. And of course, now going backwards, yeah, I mean, You can tell by my face now how good it is.
Yes.
But yeah, and sometimes like thank you for your words, because you know when this happening with us, we are so inside of our life that we forgot about how it was, because we were there deeply. So it seems like it's like when we see things from outside is different. But yes, but sometimes it's just because in the way it's the same. It took me ages to communicate. It comes the communication again, the sharing, the support, to sharing my story, right? Like I'm doing now. I've not done this before. I've shared with my doctor, and she wanted to my traditional doctor, okay? And she wanted to write my story. And I looked to her and said, why you want to write my story? I said, why? Because I have so many patients suffering, and there's no answer for that. And I said, yeah, it's true, because yeah, I've been there. Like, and she wrote my story. And until that time, and it was like 2 years ago, I haven't realized, in the same way that I didn't share with the others when I was struggle, I also didn't share when, I mean, I've been there. Okay. So it's so important we share. It's so important, because the path is always alone, but we need to share. We need to build up the connections. And I mean, it was a lot changing. Of course, then it come other issues, but at least one we're speaking now. I hope if it inspires one person, that's already a good, amazing, not good, an amazing thing.
And that's the intention. The intention is, I guess, we all go through what we go through to help somebody else to go through what they have to go through in a different way. So that's the intention. And thank you for that. Thank you for having decided today to share a bit about your story, about the high and the lows, because it's very easy to do a testimonial of, everything has disappeared and I'm fine today and I have my quality of life, etc. But it was a process. And what you said is really about sharing what happened to you, what you decided that was good, but also to make space for all of this questioning. And I wasn't sure, and people wanted me to do something else, but I was sure that, something inside of me said to me I had to go towards and try this different thing.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be the story of everyone. Obviously, you have your own story, and for sure that this wake-up call came to your life for some reason. Our body always speaks to us for us to start looking at ourselves and start doing things differently. And you shared about self-love, right? And it's a word that is so used everywhere today. We don't even, really know how to do that. What is that? How do I do that? But I think what you shared is so important, which is, okay, just focus on one thing today that you can do that will help you move towards where you want to go. And I understand you've tried so many things, but it was, changing something today with regards to the food you eat and giving yourself love through changing your habits of, okay, something here is inflammatory for my body. I'm going to take this out. And maybe tomorrow I will do something else with regards to maybe dialing down on the stress that you were feeling at the time. And maybe every day we can try to do something new and see how it works for us. Because what has worked for you may not work for somebody else, or the other way around. The thing is to try and to really keep this faith in ourselves that if we somehow created it, we can also eliminate it, right?
Definitely. You know, you start to say something, and most of the times we don't know what is best for us. I think most of the times we don't know what to do. I'm speaking for myself, of course. And sometimes doing something to nurture ourselves and self-love is respecting that, is asking help, is sharing, is it all come to a place of self-responsibility, the adult place that I'm the only person that is responsible to take care of myself. And that's the seed. And sometimes, and we are not speaking about like long time process, like we are talking here specifically, but in life, this self-love, we always said like, what is self-love? Oh, is liking yourself, like liking your personality, or I'm funny, or I'm a kind person. And we always take these for, like very spacious thing about what it is self-love. And sometimes self-love can be just simple things like go and make a soup for yourself or go earlier to bed. And if we take with habits, because actually at the end, what I feel, what made the big changes on me was the habits, lifestyle habits, what I eat, how I sleep, how I manage my emotions, and that it come therapy, of course, is sometimes even the act of what I'm going to eat now, we don't think about this is one of the most self-love things we can do by ourselves, what I'm putting inside my body in all ways. And most of the times we do these things in unconscious way. Most of the times we allow ourselves to be in the places that are not for us. Emotionally, mentally. I mean, we are always, most of the times, probably receiving not self-love things. And sometimes it's not just about being good all the time. It's about always being in the present moment and understanding if this will fit my body, if this will fit my soul. And these can all and only come in a self-awareness process, knowing ourselves. And then it comes other thing. When as more as we know ourselves, more we know that we are very particular, very different from all the rest of the world. So what it works for us, it doesn't work for the others. But we need the others. We don't do absolutely nothing by ourselves.
Beautifully said, Sonia.
Thank you.
That's the thing. We're all unique, but we all need all of us, right? We're all part of something a lot bigger than we think. For the women that are listening to you and maybe going through something similar, what would you say looking back today was the first decision you took that really changed everything for you?
I don't have, and it was, I can't pick one. I could tell, like, I look for medicine that was integrative. I mean, that include different perspectives, like integrative ways. I look for different therapies to see the one that I like it most. I read books as well, but that's my thing. But it was not one simple thing that I could just bullet point.
Okay, so
I think, sorry to interrupt. I mean, it's go to the world with an open heart and ask for help and read and discover and make your life absolutely the most important thing, and your body the most important thing, because that's actually what opened the paths, is when you start to honor your life, honoring your body, and really make yourself the matter of discovery, the most important self-discover.
I think that's a wonderful and beautiful advice to leave these women with. We hope with Sonia that this was inspiring, and we thank Sonia a lot for sharing her story today, and we'll be together very soon again. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening.
And share with those you feel it may benefit from what we have to offer.